Hi, my name is Sonia. I'm your biology educator for class 10 and welcome to the classes. This is the platform where we strive for your excellence in board examination. And today is our first session. In this session, we will discuss chapter number 1, unit 2, life processes. Today, we will cover part number 1, that is nutrition and its types. Hope you all are doing well. Now, let's start our lecture. Here we have the chapter content. Now we'll see what's the topic we are going to cover in this particular chapter, and this chapter is divided into five parts. Part 1 is life processes, nutrition and its types. Part 2 is nutrition in plants and animals. Part 3 is respiration and part 4 is transportation in plants and animals. Part 5 is excretion. In this lecture we will cover life processes, nutrition and its type. That is part 1. The remaining part we will cover in upcoming video lecture. It is essential to cover the definition of each subtopic, as the definitions serve as a foundation to understand complex subtopics in a very simple and easy manner, and it is also crucial as per your exam to excel in your board exam. Now let's start with the lecture, life processes. This is our first topic, life processes. Here is the definition of life processes. Life processes are the fundamental biological processes that keep living things alive. All those processes which keep living things alive are known as life processes. Now we have this term alive. What does this mean? Alive is living. Alive means living. The fundamental biological processes that keep living things alive are known as life processes. Okay, this was the definition of life processes. The processes which together perform this maintenance job are life processes. The life processes we are discussing also perform the maintenance function. Okay, and this maintenance function is necessary for living organisms. Why? As we all are aware that the maintenance function of living organism must go on even when they are not doing anything particular. Let's say we are just sitting in class or somebody is sleeping. This maintenance function has to go on. The processes which together perform this maintenance job are known as life processes. So we can say that life processes are the maintenance processes. Life processes are the maintenance processes. Maintenance processes. All right. Life processes are the maintenance processes. This is given in your NCERT, and you have to include this maintenance processes whenever you explain life processes. Life processes are the biological processes that keep living things alive, and these are the processes which perform the maintenance job. So they are also known as maintenance processes. Very simple, right? Now we have many kind of life processes ongoing in our body. All living organism have so many type of life processes. Okay, but as per now, according to your NCERT and CBSE board, we will cover only four types of life processes in detail. And these four types of basic life processes we are going to cover are: first is nutrition. We'll cover this. Then respiration. After respiration, we have this transport and then excretion. These are the four basic processes we are going to discuss in this series of chapter life processes. We are going to discuss life processes and the type of life processes. Okay. Next slide is about nutrition. What is this nutrition? Well, first we have to have idea that what is nutrition. So the definition of nutrition is the process of taking food by an organism. It's a process, life process of taking food by an organism. Let's say in the picture on the right corner, see, this kid is taking food. So this process of taking food is known as nutrition. Now we understand nutrition is the process of intaking food by an organism. This is the simple definition you have to keep in your mind. This much is clear. Now we have another question. Why do we need food? Why do organisms need food? So the answer is we need food for survival, and every organism needs food for their survival. No organism can survive without food, without nutrition. If we have to give the reasons as per your NCERT, why do we need food? We need food for growth. Obviously, for growth, we need food. Without food, there will be no growth. Okay? So, first reason is growth. Second is protein. Okay, so protein is essential for our body growth. So include protein also. For protein synthesis, for protein synthesis, we need food. Third, state of order. State of order. Every organism body has to maintain a state of order, as so many processes are happening in a body of living organism. So to maintain those processes we need food. Okay, a state of order is maintained for each process, and this state of order is maintained due to food. We need food for this maintenance of state of order. This is the third reason. Fourth, any guesses? Why do we need food? The fourth one, for energy. For every work, every function, body needs energy. Without energy, how would we able to perform any function? You won't be able to take classes if you don't have energy. So same way, every organism for each and every function needs energy, and this energy comes from food. Our body is undergoing breakdown and repair, and this is a continuous process. Okay, and for this breaking and repairing, energy is needed, and this energy comes from outside when we intake food. That's why it is necessary that we intake food, and the process of intaking food is known as nutrition. So, we need nutrition for growth, for protein synthesis, to maintain state of order, for energy, to perform essential function. Every organism needs food. Hope it is clear to you. This is from NCERT. What kind of food do we eat? What is there in the food that we are saying essential? So, life on Earth depends on carbon based molecules, and most of the food are carbon based molecules. Whatever food we intake, whatever food any organism is consuming, that food or nutrition has carbon based molecules. And that carbon based molecules, if you look examples of carbon based molecule, carbohydrates. Carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are the carbon containing molecules which are required for the energy. And next we have this protein. Protein also contains carbon. These are the carbon based molecules which we intake through food. And this line is given in your NCERT wherever you mention this term nutrition. You define nutrition, you have to include that life on earth depend on carbon based molecules, and we intake these carbon based molecules through our food. This is all about nutrition. How do living things get their food? It is clear to us now that we need food, we need nutrition. But question here is, how do living things get their food? The process of getting food is nutrition, this we know. But how do we get this nutrition? The general requirement for energy and material is common in all organisms, but it is fulfilled in different ways. We know that energy and materials are the requirements of each and every organism. As each organism is different, so they have different processes, different ways to intake food. And this variety or this differences in intaking food is the mode of nutrition. Mode of nutrition. So whenever anyone asks you like how do living things get their food, they are asking you only the mode of nutrition. The general requirement of energy and materials is common in all organisms, but it is fulfilled in different ways, and these different ways of fulfilling this requirement is known as modes of nutrition. Now we have to tell the mode of nutritions. Mode of nutritions, we have two type of common mode of nutritions. Autotrophic mode, the number one. Number two is heterotrophic mode of nutrition. So modes of nutrition are of two types, autotrophic one and the second one is heterotrophic. This we have to cover for answering the question, how do living things get their food? Now we know the process of nutrition is intake of food. Intake of food by an organism. This is nutrition. Now we have to cover this autotrophic nutrition. What is autotrophic nutrition? What is heterotrophic nutrition? We have to look definition of autotrophic nutrition as well as the heterotrophic nutrition and examples too. CBSE many of the time asks this question: define autotrophic nutrition, give examples of autotrophic nutrition. Then you have to write the definition of autotrophic nutrition and the introduction along with examples. And we will be covering these in our upcoming slides. So now let's first see autotrophic nutrition. It is the nutrition in which organisms are prepare their food from simple inorganic substances like carbon dioxide and water. First, you have to include in your definition this word prepare. Most important line to explain autotrophic nutrition. And they prepare their food. How they prepare their food? They prepare their food from simple inorganic substances. Simple inorganic substances like CO2 and water, H2O. They prepare their food from CO2 and H2O. You can also write this equation in this way. It will be a very good representation of answer. CO2 plus H2O, food. And this food is made in the form of carbohydrate. The carbon-based molecule, as I have already told you, the carbon-based molecule. Now, food is prepared by using CO2 and H2O. There are two conditions which are required for autotrophic nutrition. First is sunlight, second is chlorophyll. The organism which have chlorophyll and having access to sunlight, they can synthesize their own food. And this process of synthesizing their own food in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll using simple inorganic substances like CO2, H2O is known as autotrophic nutrition. Now you should remember that they prepare their own food. Second, they prepare their own food from inorganic substances like CO2 and H2O. And they need sunlight and chlorophyll for this process to happen. The organism which shows this autotrophic nutrition are known as autotrophs. Autotrophs. What are autotrophs? Autotrophs are the organisms. These are the organisms which shows autotrophic nutrition. Which shows autotrophic nutrition. If we see the examples of organism which shows autotrophic nutrition, or let's say example of autotrophs. What are the examples? All the green plants. All the green plants shows autotrophic nutrition because they have chlorophyll. In the present, they have access to sunlight and they have this ability to perform the synthesis of food from inorganic substances CO2 and H2. So plants are the best example of this nutrition, autotrophic nutrition. Whenever you answer this question, you have to include plant in your example. Plant performs the autotrophic nutrition. Plant have autotrophic mode of nutrition. So can we write here plants? Plants are the example of autotrophic nutrition. Now algae. Green algae also shows this mode of nutrition. They also have access to sunlight and they are organism which shows autotrophic mode of nutrition. Now photosynthetic bacteria. photosynthetic bacteria, or you can also write certain bacteria. If you don't remember this word photosynthetic, and if you remember, this will be good. Plants, algae, photosynthetic bacteria are the examples of autotrophic nutrition. What we covered in autotrophic nutrition is the definition of autotrophic nutrition, then how whole process happens in the presence of CO2, H2O, food, the requirements, sunlight and chlorophyll, autotrophs. What are autotrophs? Autotrophs are the organism which shows autotrophic mode of nutrition, and examples, plants, algae, photosynthetic bacteria, all these examples. Here we have autotrophic nutrition examples. Plants, all the green plants shows autotrophic nutrition. So this is one example of autotrophic nutrition, and this is bacteria, the autotrophic bacteria, which shows autotrophic nutrition. If I write the name of this bacteria, this is cyanobacteria. This is cyanobacteria. This just I have told you for an extra for the extra knowledge. Cyanobacteria is the name of autotrophic bacteria. These were the pictures of autotrophs. Let me write here autotrophs. Autotrophs, the organism which shows autotrophic mode of nutrition, plant and certain bacteria. Now the first mode of nutrition, the autotrophic mode of nutrition, we covered this topic. Second one is heterotrophic nutrition. If we see heterotrophic mode of nutrition, first we will cover the definition again, then examples, then types. Autotrophic nutrition. In autotrophic nutrition, we discussed only example and definition, but in heterotrophic, we also have the different types of heterotrophic nutrition. So, heterotrophic nutrition is the nutrition in which organisms get their food directly or indirectly from plants. Autotrophic nutrition, what we have seen, they prepare their food own, but in heterotrophic, hetero means different. They don't prepare their own food by natural process. These are the organisms which get their food directly or indirectly from plants. They get their food from plants directly or indirectly. They get their food from plants. They can't make their own food by themselves. They don't have this ability to synthesize their food by their own, so they depend on plants for their food requirements. That's why they are known as heterotrophs. The organism, this term heterotrophs are the organisms which shows heterotrophic mode of nutrition. This heterotrophic mode of nutrition, if we see, there are different type of heterotrophic mode of nutrition: saprophytic nutrition, parasitic nutrition, and hologic nutrition. Okay, before we proceed to different type of heterotrophic nutrition, note down the few examples of heterotropic nutrition. Examples: animals. Animals are the perfect example of heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Then we have fungus. Okay, fungus and animals are the examples of heterotrophic nutrition. We will cover these animal and fungus in upcoming slide of nutrition. Now, just remember these animals and fungus shows heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Now we have the different type of heterotrophic nutrition. We have three different type of heterotrophic nutrition. First is saprophytic nutrition. Then we have this parasitic nutrition, and third one is hologic nutrition. Okay, so for heterotrophic nutrition, we have covered the definition part. Definition is these are the organisms in which there is no ability to make their food by own. They depend for their food on plants directly or indirectly. They can't make their food. Now, the examples are animals and fungus. The organism which make their food own are autotroph, and the organisms which depend on other plants, let's say plants or other organisms for their food requirements directly or indirectly are known as heterotrophs. And the mode of heterotrophic nutrition is divided into three types. First is saprophytic nutrition, second is parasitic nutrition, then we have this hologic nutrition. Let's see saprophytic mode of nutrition. In saprophytic nutrition, we have this definition first. If we look saprophytic nutrition definition, nutrition in which organisms get their food from dead and decaying organisms. All right, we have another term, dead and decaying. Remember these two words to include in your definition. Wherever you explain saprophytic nutrition, you have to mention these two words, dead and decaying. Dead and decaying means the non-living ones. Non-living. This is the nutrition in which organisms intake dead and decaying organism for their food requirements. Let's say they feed on the dead plant leaves, dead organisms. They feed on such kind of things, and that is known as saprophytic nutrition. If we see examples of saprophytic nutrition, we have this mushroom, yeast, bread mold. All these are fungus. Let me write here. These are fungus. Fungus are the examples of saprophytic nutrition. They feed on they feed on waste material like dead and decayed material for their food requirements. If you can see in picture here, this is the mushroom. This is the mushroom. You might have seen this mushroom in your fields in rainy season. Many of you have seen this mushroom in rainy season. Okay. These mushrooms feeds on decayed matter. Feeds on dead and decaying matter. Dead and decaying matter. And the organism which shows this mode of nutrition, the saprophytic nutrition, are known as saprotrophs. If anyone asks you what do you understand from saprophytic nutrition, you have to give the definition of saprophytic nutrition, in which you have to include the dead and decaying word. Second, you have to tell the example which are fungus. Fungus are saprotrophs. And in fungus, you can tell the mushroom, yeast, and bread mold. Oh, these are the examples of fungus, and these shows heterotropic mode of nutrition. Now, if you understand this from with the help of a diagram, let's say these are the leaves. Okay, dead and decayed. And the saprotroph will feed on them. Saprotrophs intake. Saprotrophs will consume these leaves or dead or decayed matter for their nutrition, for their energy requirements. They will use these dead and decayed matter. That's why they are known as saprotrophs. And this mode of intaking dead and decayed organism or matter is known as saprophytic nutrition. Next time, wherever you see these mushrooms, just remember in your mind they show saprophytic nutrition. They feed on dead and decayed matter. Next, we have this parasitic nutrition, the second one. Parasitic nutrition. We have covered the saprophytic nutrition. Now we have this parasitic nutrition. What do we understand from parasitic nutrition? Again, we have to look definition. The nutrition in which organisms get their food. You have to include this get their food in every definition of heterotropic mode of nutrition. We have also included this get their food in saprophytic mode of nutrition and in parasitic nutrition also. And in next slide we will see the hologic mode of nutrition. In that also you have to write this get their food. So nutrition in which organisms get their food from living organisms. They get their food from living organisms. In saprophytic, we had dead and decaying, and in this we have living organisms. In parasitic nutrition, you have to write the organisms which get their food from living organisms without killing them. Without killing them, they won't kill their host. Now, what is host? Let's say this is the organism. This is the organism which shows parasitic mode of nutrition. Parasitic mode. Okay, we can say that this organism which shows parasitic mode of nutrition is parasite. We can use this term parasite for this organism. Okay, this organism is parasite. What is parasite? Parasite is an organism which shows parasitic mode of nutrition. We have this parasite. This parasite will get their food from living organism. This parasite get their food from living organism. Let's say this is the living organism. Okay, and this living organism from which the parasite gets their food is known as host. This was the parasite, and it get their food from living organism. This is the living organism, and this living organism on which the parasite feeds is known as host. There are two terms, parasite and host. Parasite is the organism which shows parasitic mode of nutrition, and it will feed on a living organism, and that living organism on which this parasite feeds is known as host. Now we have to keep this thing in mind, that the parasite feeds on host is the parasitic mode of nutrition. And in this process of taking this nutrition, the parasite never kills host. They can cause harm. They can cause harm to the host, to the living organism on which they are feeding, but they will never kill that host. Okay, they won't kill that host. They take nutrients. They take nutrients from that living organism or host for their energy requirements, but they won't kill that host. They can harm that they can harm the host, but they won't kill that host. Now, if we look the examples of parasitic nutrition, you have heard of ticks on dogs. Okay, this is the example of parasitic nutrition. And lice on human, as you can see in the picture, lice on human. Sometimes you may have seen that many people have these lices in their hair. In their hair they have lices. You can say that this is parasitic nutrition. You can correlate this thing, that lice on human is parasitic mode of nutrition. What lices do in our hair is they intake the nutrition from our scalp. They feed on blood. They feed on the nutrition. They take their nutrition from our scalp. Okay, so they live in hair. They live on host living organism, and they feed there. They complete their energy requirements. They intake nutrition from there. That's why this is known as parasitic nutrition. And parasite lives on living organism, and that living organism is known as host. You can correlate this scenario with lice on hair, lice on human hair. Next time, wherever you see lice or you heard lice, just remember it is parasitic mode of nutrition. They are parasites which are living in our hair. Clear? What is parasitic nutrition? Nutrition in which organisms get their food from living organism, and that living organism is host without killing them. Examples are ticks on dog, lice on human. This is parasitic mode of nutrition or parasite. Okay, next we have this holozoic mode of nutrition. In holozoic mode of nutrition, if we see the definition first, the nutrition in which organisms take food directly and then digest and absorb it. Holo means whole. They uptake whole food, and then the process of digestion and absorption happens inside the body. In a holozoic mode of nutrition, what we see is organism uptake whole food and then digest and absorb inside the body. This mode of nutrition is seen in human. We have this mode of nutrition, holozoic mode of nutrition. What we do, we intake the whole food, then that food is digested inside the body or outside the body. We take digested food or undigested one. We take the undigested, we take cereals and rice and all these things. We consume them. Once they go inside the body in the digestive system, there in digestive system they digested and then absorbed and then utilized further for energy requirements. This mode of nutrition is hologic mode, the nutrition in which organisms take food directly and then digest and absorb it. I have told you that this nutrition is present in human. So we have this nutrition. Now you can correlate this thing like how we digest the food. Once you know how we digest the food, you will get an idea that what all about hologic nutrition. What's all about hologic nutrition? It is about intaking food and then digesting and absorbing. Whichever organism does have this mode of nutrition perform same things. They uptake their food directly and then digest and absorb. And then after absorption, they get their energy, perform their day-to-day functions. Nutrition in which organisms take food directly and then digest and absorb. You have to include these at least these two words in your definition. What happens in hologic mode of nutrition? Let's say we have this food. All right. Hologic mode of nutrition is seen in human. We have this food intake. Let's say we had our dinner. Food intake, then this food goes inside the body in digestive system. Then what happens inside the digestive system? Digestion. This process will happen. Once the food is digested, broken down into smaller parts, it get absorbed. Absorbed. Okay. Then assimilated and it it results in the formation of energy. This energy is used to perform body functions. Whatever functions our body perform, those functions requires energy and that energy we get from food. This process I have written here is hologic nutrition mode. This is hologic mode of nutrition. In human, this happens in human. Clear? We intake food, then digestive system, digestion, absorption, assimilation, energy, and that energy we will use for performing functions. Examples: human, then we have this amoeba. This we will study in upcoming video lecture. In second part, we will study this amoeba in detail. This is in your CBSE syllabus, and they also ask question from this hologic mode of nutrition many a time on amoeba and human. So you have to write these things, and if you can draw some drawings like these flowchart or anything, this will be an advantage for you to score good marks. Now we have discussed hologic mode of nutrition, parasitic mode of nutrition, and saprophytic mode of nutrition. Next, we have this important slide. This can be asked in your examination. What is autotrophic nutrition, heterotrophic nutrition? And they can also ask the difference between autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. They can ask you differentiate between the autotrophic nutrition and the heterotrophic nutrition. Then you have to write these points. First is in autotrophic nutrition, we have seen that food is prepared by organism on its own. I have told you that food is prepared by organism on its own. We have seen this thing. And in heterotrophic mode of nutrition, there is no preparation on their own. They do not prepare their own food. They depend on other organisms for their food requirements. In autotrophic, the organism require an organic material, CO2 and H2O, for making their food, CO2 and H2. But in case of heterotrophic nutrition, they depends on autotroph for obtaining food. In autotrophic nutrition, chlorophyll is required, and in heterotrophic nutrition, chlorophyll is not required. There is no need of chlorophyll in heterotrophic nutrition, but in autotrophic nutrition, we have seen that sunlight and chlorophyll is needed. There is no such requirement in heterotrophic mode of nutrition. This is required only in autotrophic nutrition. In autotrophic nutrition, the fourth point, examples are plants, algae, and certain bacteria. This we know. And in heterotrophic nutrition, we have examples all animals and fungus. You can also write here the mushroom, humans, all these things. You can mention here. Food is prepared by own. They do not prepare their own food. These organisms require an organic material. They depend on autotrophs for obtaining food. Chlorophyll is required. In heterotroph, chlorophyll is not required. Examples are plant, algae, certain bacteria, and in heterotrophic nutrition, all animals and fungus are the example of heterotrophic nutrition. These are the key takeaways from this lecture. Now we will summarize all the things whatever we have read in this session. First is we have read about life processes. Life processes. What are life processes? Life processes are the processes which are required to keep living things alive. All those processes are known as life processes. We have this life processes: nutrition, respiration, transportation, and excretion. Today we covered the nutrition part. Then we have this autotrophic nutrition versus heterotrophic nutrition. This we have covered. Autotrophs make their food own. They do not make their own food but depends on autotrophs for their food requirements. Then we have seen the different types of heterotrophic nutrition: the parasitic nutrition, saprophytic nutrition, hologic nutrition. Example of parasitic nutrition are lice on human, ticks on dogs. And the saprophytic mode of nutrition, fungus, the mushroom. All right. And for hologic nutrition, this is human. We intake whole food and then digest inside the body. This was all about nutrition and its types. Hope it is clear to you now that what is nutrition and the types of nutrition. If you have any doubt, you can ask in comment section and I'll answer all your queries. Now before we end this session, here is the introduction of part 2. In part 2, we will see nutrition in plants and animals. In this part, we covered nutrition and its types. Now, in your NCERT, nutrition in plants and animals is also given as a different subtopic, and we will cover this in part 2. Thank you. Have a great day.